designs.
There you go.
Wow. Oh, maybe it's weird. Yeah, she pushed the button 10 minutes ago to record it. It's kind of wild. Technology. Hey, Adam, design status update.
We are, well, actually first, Butch, later on the agenda, do we have review of the package and colors?
Yes.
Or is this that also?
No, we have color selection for roofing shingles and MCUA exterior vote may be taken. That's down the line a little bit, but
Okay,
I always set
great.
out a lot of schematic stuff as well.
Yes. So I want to talk about the schematic package that that I sent to Butch and that Butch sent forward to the committee. I will share my screen if that is all right. Just one moment here.
Yep.
I just want to walk the entire committee and the public that is watching or listening, I guess, through where we are on the project and show you just excerpts, little bits and pieces, not everything, but show you some drawings along the way. Like I said, I'm just showing you excerpts and I'm not going to go in too much depth, but I just want you guys all to have a comprehensive feeling for the drawing package as it stands. We are still working on it and we are still making revisions and changes. So what you see here is not the absolute final. The absolute final documents will be sent out hopefully soon. But this package here goes through, let's see, the building overall. We're starting to develop the outbuilding details based on discussions with the chief and with Mark Snow. Further work on that is needed. We are going through people on here. We are going through code analysis with Mark Snow, and that process has been started. It is definitely in need of more discussion and more work with Mark Snow. Make sure that he is fully comfortable with the package, but that will be happening. Let's see. Something that I thought people would like to see is some of the revisions that we've made based on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I can zoom in, great. We have relocated the transformer for the building. It was previously at this location, but we have moved it east. We've moved it east to this location here to try to mitigate the sound impacts of the transformer to the multifamily property located just west of the parcel. We have also incorporated additional plantings at this location here as another one of the conditions of the zoning board. And then we have increased our screening up to this corner, our vegetative screening between our parcel and the adjacent multifamily residential building to include the area where the transformer was prior. Let's see. I believe those are really the critical changes based on the zoning board. There are a couple more things, but that's the most visible ones. I thought I would show you that we have been detailing out slope slabs throughout the building in different locations to facilitate drainage. The package is coming along very well. Lots of different foundation conditions, details, going through, because the building sits on the slope that it does, even though it's a mild slope, the building is so long that we have a lot of different ways that the building meets the ground. So all of those are detailed both structurally and architecturally at the present moment. Let's continue through here. Nothing layout-wise has changed. It's only been fine-tuned and revised. We are still working with the chief, with Fernando, and a couple other members of the department to finalize technology layouts and plans. So TV locations, speakers, incorporating the response systems, for example, the lights going up when there's a call coming in, things like that, PA systems. But all in all, we're very close to the finish line here at the building. There are still absolutely some conditions that we need to detail, but these are simple ones. The day room has been thoroughly developed based on the, I have to jump to that here. Well, I'll talk about that in a moment. I apologize. We've been coordinating roof access for different pieces of equipment, and right now we are detailing some roof screening to provide visual and to provide visual separation essentially to some of the rooftop units. The elevations have been thoroughly developed, including calling out and dimensioning all of the different bits and pieces of block on the building. So I can just zoom in right here on one spot. So all the different types of block right now, they're just set out as field color, accent color, and then there's different textures and finishes of block. So if you all remember previously when we discussed interior colors, we had a couple physical block samples. Some of them were smooth, some of them were lumpy. In front of you today, you have 2 block samples. We'll get into them more a little bit later, but those are both split face. In reality, the building will have different textures of block, which can create different effects, different accents, but we'll discuss that more in a little bit. Signage has been worked on. The building address is officially 41 Main Street. We just got the confirmation of that. So this drawing package I created a couple days ago. Just today, we have updated the address. So your new fire station will be at 41 Main Street. Some things that we're still working on that I can tell you a little bit more about, and you can see it's bubbled right here. We have the plan to relocate the historic keystones from the now demolished fire station. There are 4 of them that were salvaged in the demolition process. Right now we have this photo. We need to get some more accurate dimensions of that, and we'll be working with the chief and probably Lieutenant MacGyver at a later date to get those dimensions so we can provide that to the contractor. But the intent is to take these salvaged historic keystones and incorporate them into some of the arches, some of the row-lock arches in the exterior of the building, primarily on the front face. I don't recall which ones exactly we're calling for. It is called out on here. I won't take up all of your time to find every last one, but they're being used in a couple different places to try to bring some of that history back into this building. Not bring it into this building, but reflect back on it.
Adam, we have the historic cornerstone as well somewhere.
I need to verify that. That is my current belief, but I need to verify the condition of the historic cornerstone and verify that we would like it on the exterior or interior. It could be either. It could be a display piece in the museum, although that might be the preferred option. It's just something that has to be discussed.
Okay.
And I would leave that up to the chief and his firemen myself. But if that's something the committee would like to discuss, we could. More elevations. You've
Adam?
seen, yes.
If I can, the stone needs a little bit of work if you're going to incorporate it into the building. So I think it would be better suited in the museum.
Understood. I will not show that on the exterior now, and we'll just have block there. That'll be a great museum piece.
It'd be great to have a new one.
We will have a new date stone for the new station. Don't you worry.
But in that lower left-hand corner there, the,
Correct. So right at the
yeah,
lower left-hand corner, which is the corner of the main entrance and the visitor parking. So it's the most visible location on the building.
yeah.
We could relocate it, but this is our recommended spot. Moving forward through the drawing package here. Elevations continued. The equipment that we're looking to screen right now is actually this piece of equipment. It is larger than we had previously anticipated, and we believe that the city code does require us to screen it. It is an additional item that we were not expecting or anticipating, but nothing that we can't handle. So we'll be providing screening both for the benefit of the adjoining parcels, the neighbors, and also sight lines, just the aesthetics of the building. So that's actively ongoing coordination with us, our structural engineers, and our mechanical engineers. As we continue forward, we've been working and developing our building sections. We've been enhancing our insulation details. Did you say something, Neil?
Nope.
Oh, okay, sorry. We've been enhancing our insulation details, including our edge of slab details and things like that, to continue to improve insulation and continuity of that insulation everywhere where possible, as we know that sustainability is key to the city of Greenfield. Continuing to develop and detail and call out different bathroom elements, different firematic elements throughout the station. This sheet is in progress here. And just continuing to try to bring us to the finish line. My intent isn't to go through everything bit by bit, but like I said, just show you this overall. I also have some of the consultant drawings here. So for example, right here is an interior design sheet from our partners at Tecton, showing the planned epoxy bay pattern using these boxes in an accent color with integral backup stripes that then will extend out onto the apron of the bay to assist the first responders in backing in if or when they have to. Working on tile patterns, visual contrast strips where needed. We've also been working very closely with vendors to develop and enhance the vehicle exhaust system for the station using, I don't recall off the top of my head, but using some salvaged components, but not any salvaged critical elements, because we put a lot of work into the vehicle exhaust system, moving it into the temporary. Those elements that we invested money into that are new in the temporary, I believe, are coming over. I don't recall fully. Do not quote me on that, I would say, but it is as we discussed previously. Developing the HVAC system, including all of the ideas that the committee discussed to try to increase the redundancy of the system, dividing up the way the different zones work and controls are, and then getting into lighting controls, lighting systems. That's about all that I think I will show you guys out of this package. I guess here's a technology plan. We've been working and developing that. We still need to have a page turn with Fernando. Some discussions have happened, but we still need to go fully in depth into the IT room and finalize that with him, as well as with the radio consultants, the owner's radio vendor, I would say actually, and a few more things like that. So we still have some coordination to do, but we're getting to the last mile.
Any questions for Adam on the schematic design and where we are in the process? Carol?
Yeah, I mean, we can follow up separately, Adam, but you were mentioning the controls, and I noticed that that was a fairly chunk of the budget item. Is that something that George is being involved with? Because I thought we had decided not to do a lot of controls outside of like occupancy sensors.
I would need to follow up on that. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer. I do recall
That's
that conversation. I need to review what our electrical engineers have ended and settled up with.
Okay, I can follow up with you after. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Adam? Here, there. Okay, thank you very much, Adam. Okay, just jump back and the mayor's here and now, just maybe an update on the grant. How that's maybe going?
I don't have any new information.
Okay.
Looking for Liz Warren's office to call us or email us.
Nope. Questions on that? Okay, here you go, Adam. You're up again. Color selection for roofing shingles and MCUA exterior colors.
All right, just give me 1 second here. I would first like to thank Lieutenant Peter MacGyver for his great survey that he sent out to the committee and his also great analysis on that. That made people's feedback very easy to digest, and I truly appreciate that. I'm going to pull up the, let's see. I'm going to pull up a sheet that I developed based off of that, and we will start to discuss.
Adam, I just sent you the email with the same stuff too.
Yes, I saw that.
Sorry.
So
Thank you.
This is this.
that's,
That is that. These two are that.
which color is that one and which color is that one by name? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't know.
If you're looking for the names of the blocks, I can get that for you.
Yeah,
I
I
just
just,
have to step away
the
from my
little,
computer.
the little red one and then the other red one. I just need those names to get them straight in my head.
Sure thing. Just while I step away from my desk for 1 second to pick
Yeah.
those up, just take a look at this right here, kind of
Oh, you could-
digesting the
yeah.
feedback.
You could help me just by saying which one's Cortez, which one's Thompsonville. I know, but I mean here.
Oh, I don't know.
Thompsonville's a nice station.
All right. So I have those block samples in front of me right here. The red block that you see, well, here, I will go to this next page first.
Maybe.
The red block right here.
Yeah.
That is, it's called DK23-2. Not great names,
Is
I'm
that the
sorry.
big, is that the little rock here or the big one?
That, I believe, is a little red sample.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
DK 20.
We can just call that red.
Okay.
Then we also have the gray sample. So that's a large sample there in front of you.
Mhm.
And that is DK29.
Okay.
Then we have a, I guess I'll call it sandstone color sample, which is W65.
This one.
And then there is a large brown sample in front of you,
Yeah.
which is DK12.
Okay, got it.
And so the original way that we presented these to the committee, sending them out, was Scheme 1 and Scheme 2. In just a moment, though, I'll discuss what I would propose based on the feedback that we received. So let's jump back up to here. The feedback was very clear that there was no one who saw these two projects, Cortez, Colorado, or Thompsonville, Connecticut, as unfavorable
true.
in.
I did.
Oh, I apologize, Mayor. I did not. I don't know if the feedback was updated afterwards.
To hear all the time, it's your decision, Mayor. I don't hear that from this table anymore. Where'd that go? Damn.
So the similarities with both of these stations are pretty clear. Although the tone of the red might be a little bit different and the tone of the brown and the gray might be a little different, both of these stations had a field of red ACMU with accents of gray and brown. So in this one, there was, let's say in Cortez, Colorado, there was a brown base, gray accents, a nice gray volume here in the middle, and red block in the field. Something I mentioned earlier, I'll zoom in here. Not the best quality. I reduced the file size of this, so I apologize. These two blocks right here, that is the same block, just a different finish of the block. Remember how I said that there's smooth face, there's ground face, there's also split face, which is what those samples in front of you are. That creates a huge difference in appearance, and we could do a lot with that.
The split thing.
Well, split face and smooth face and playing with different finishes. If you turn around a split face block and you turn it backwards, it's smooth face. There's lots of different options, or you can get a smooth face block directly, which is the preference. So this uses 3 colors in a couple
Yeah,
different
so that's
textures.
excellent.
Then Thompsonville has a couple more colors, but in general, it's still a brown base, red field, and gray accents. So using that information, that's what I would propose that we would do and vote on for the new fire station. The sandstone color was disliked greatly based on the feedback that I received. But what seems to have been the most favorable is the red, the gray, which is almost like granite. I don't know if the sample
These
you
two,
have
right?
kind of has that feel. Yep. So
Good with that.
red, brown, and gray are the colors that I would propose doing, and we would use them in that same scheme, which isn't quite shown here now, and it takes some revision in our drawings from what I just showed you. It can be done though, that's not a problem. That this base could be a brown. All of the accents and banding and other such can be the gray, and then the field can still be the red. Or if the committee would like, we could do it as it is shown, which is just the 2 colors in different block formats, which, as you saw in this previous image, you know, this is the same block, but it gives you this different appearance because it's a different finish. So I guess I'll first ask for some discussion on that.
Sure. I can't see everybody with the,
No, we can't see anybody with that up there.
with that up there.
What is the white block that's on the photo? Is that this, is that this, W65?
So no, the photo
would
that
be-
is shown there is not accurate colors to the
Oh, okay.
actual samples.
Okay,
That is just a generic field and block, and we knew that typically red is the favorable color for a fire station in block. But rather than spending a vast amount of the time that we could be putting towards producing the drawings for the fire station, here we just have the generic colors for us to then decide. I will stop sharing the screen so you can see everyone and discuss though.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, Mayor?
I was just gonna say, I prefer just myself, I mean, we have the advantage here of being able to look at the stone, which you guys don't. We can certainly hold them up if you want us to. But I prefer just myself, I prefer just the red and the gray together with not, the brown really just, I think, diminishes it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were up against the red even, it would still be rather muddy and not so good. I did do something. I took this little white-ish one, thinking of those blocks, and added it to that scheme. And frankly, that's not terrible. I don't know. I don't have a hard and fast feeling other than I do like just the red and gray as the predominant scheme.
Yes, Jen?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, I mean, there's always so much danger in anything that's designed by committee.
Correct.
Right. So I do think that was sort of, in most of the ones that ranked the most favorably, there wasn't a lot of contrast. You know, there were sort of tones of red or brown.
Yeah.
And then gray, if there was any sort of, you know, stuff. So I think we need to stay away from the lights. I think we have some consensus on that. And that to me seems like our common ground, so.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, Steve?
I agree. I think the ones that I liked the best were the ones that showed the more contrast. I mean, I still like, you know, our picture, you know, so I like the 2, using the 2 colors. So that's what I'd vote for.
Sure. Anybody else? Chief?
Peter?
Oh, Peter?
Sorry, I'm leaving my video off because I have not a lot of service here.
Yeah.
So I had a question on the red. If we go with just the red and the gray, are you considering using the different cuts of the stone to kind of allow for the color variation? Or are we just saying one type of red?
We are absolutely using the different cuts, as you put
Different
it,
cuts.
different finishes of the block. We actually have to for different things. If you think about how the soffit of a roof is, or let's say a light fixture, those have to be on a smooth surface. They can't easily be sealed or effectively be sealed to that rough split face surface. So we already will have these different finishes in, and it gives us the great opportunity to play with that. No matter what colors we pick, we will do that.
Adam, can you bring
I
up
have
either the
one.
Go ahead, Peter.
Sorry.
I just had one quick follow-up with that. On the Cortez photo, up in the by the roof line, it has like a gray banding that appeared to be like an accent row just below the soffit level. Is that something that we could do, like a grayish block that would match the lower block? Yeah.
So
up above the 31, like that area. Is there room? Is there a type of gray that would also incorporate?
Peaked roof.
Probably breaking up, Peter.
Mayor, do you like this on the other
No,
side?
not
I mean,
particularly.
I don't like any of this.
Yeah,
Adam, can you,
I don't like it on the other side, but I don't think that's big enough.
is it us or is it them?
I asked the question.
we can hear you clearly in the city hall meeting room. So I
Okay.
believe that is Peter's connection, unfortunately.
All right. So Adam, can you answer a question for me? So the gray, the DK29 that we have here, that would be the bottom and the striping up top of the fire station?
Correct.
Okay.
And on the bottom, it would be this split face texture that exposes lots of the aggregate. On the top, we're proposing a smooth face, which I don't think is a finish that you see, but you can imagine it's a slightly different color.
Yeah, what we're seeing on the smooth face on this tiny little piece is not even remotely attractive.
Can you go back to the, so I could hold this piece up so we can see it? You go back to, how do I hold this piece up so you can see what we're talking
Just
about?
remove that.
Oh,
And go back to the regular.
Yeah,
So,
just remove, there you go.
okay, so I'm holding it up, all right? Can you see me holding it up?
we can see you holding it up, but we can't really see it.
Okay, so this is the DK 23-2.
Yep.
So this is the rough side, which looks good. But when you turn it over to the flat side, at least in the room, we all think it doesn't look great.
So what
That's
I will
not-
say about those samples, that is actually a cut surface of the block due to the way they manufacture these samples.
Okay,
So what you would actually see would not be identical to that. It would be
Okay.
much more red in color with less aggregate. So it would
Okay,
be,
yeah. Yeah, that's helpful because right now it looks like all aggregate and it doesn't look pretty.
Right.
yes.
Like
So
you
it
glue
would
it
be a
onto a
much more
board.
smooth color.
So can I jump in here for a second? So I just, Peter got cut off, but he just texted me what he was trying to get across. We had visited the Northampton Fire Station, and at the Northampton Fire Station, they have a red building, and then they have very thin accents of green, lines of green that run, they're basically a half a course or a course thick, and it looks really sharp. And so that's what Peter was trying to get across.
I do not believe in the local block manufacturers there is a great green option. And I would highly recommend. Oh. Is that Peter? Who is that?
Sorry, Councilor Healy.
Oh, okay. So we can absolutely investigate adding a contrasting band or stripe at the top, but I would not recommend green based on the local color selection of block you have available to you.
Steve?
The building in Northampton, is brick. And the green stripe is a glazed brick, and it is one course. So it's very thin. And we have different materials. We're using block, which is blocky. So, you know, I know that there's going through it in a similar project we have right now. There's a lot, you can get different textures besides just the regular and the split face. You can get polished block too, you know.
So what I would say though is those increase the cost exponentially.
Yeah.
And with the amount of block that we're using on the building, it's not really
It
within
wouldn't
reach.
be, we could never use it for the field, certainly. We have a polished block that's just sort of kind of a base course that we're using, but so I'd have to see what, not being able to really see that, what everybody at town hall is looking at. You know, I'm not sure what that would be. Maybe it should be just less of it, you know, at the top. So.
Butch, if I may.
Yeah, Derek first, he's got his hand up.
Thank you. So what I've done in the past on buildings that I have built, and I know the architects might balk at it a little bit, but I've used just a smooth face gray block and used paint to paint the green ribbon over the block. And I've built buildings that have been around for 20 years that the paint still looks just as fine. It's a down and dirty cheap way to get a color that you can't get in a block sample, right? Just throwing that idea out there. The other idea I had was at the windows itself, you know, a lot of times what people will do is they'll put a ribbon right above the top edge of the window consistently down the building to kind of break the lintel up, right? So it kind of breaks the block up above the window, adds a little accent as well. So just a couple small things in building buildings all these years that I've done to add some touches to a building.
We appreciate that. We've attempted to break up the lintels, and we're actually using the headers in this building as a 5-score block to bring in more of the brick feeling. So we would not want to add the band of that at that location. But I would also say that, as you expected, I am not a fan, and I would absolutely not recommend painting block for the City of Greenfield Fire Station. One of the reasons why we select block is it is a zero maintenance material. Paint, although we have evidence of it lasting a long time in this condition, is not zero maintenance.
Neil?
The only thing I was going to add to this conversation, Butch, was I think today we should focus on the concept and the general color scheme. We will go through this process again with the contractor submittals once they provide their block. You know, we may, and I don't know what we're looking at, but there are multiple architectural block manufacturers, and each one will vary slightly by shade or by surface or finish. So we will go through this process again with the successful contractor and his masonry contractor and pick samples that are actually to be incorporated into the project. So I think if we focus on concept and general color scheme, understanding that there'll be variation later on, I think that's where we want to focus our efforts for today. Just my opinion.
That's a great point, Neil.
Yeah, Steve, did you?
Yeah, are we going to build a sample of the building? Is that part of the specs to do that?
So we do indeed have a mock-up wall as a part of the project, but with mock-up walls, the contractor will buy all of the block before they build it. Even if you tell them not to, they will, and you're stuck with it. So you have to get samples during the submittal process, like Neil said. At that point, we'll get full-size samples of the different blocks in all of the different finishes, and can then review and essentially negotiate with the contractor and their block manufacturer to fine-tune. For example, there are some block manufacturers that you tell them you want a little bit more gray in that, and they will create a new mix. There are others that will not stray at all from their standard colors. So it depends quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
So I'm having trouble pulling things up to explain, but I really love the rendering, and I love that very rich brick look with the what I would call limestone. And I remember that when Katrina was showing us the samples at the last meeting, I think that was only last week, right? Wow. The one that really struck me was the base on the Mill Creek. It was very smooth, and she even referred to it as a limestone. And I don't know if that's possible to pull up, but not the field stone, but definitely that base seems really classic and very just beautiful and appealing. I will say I'm not a huge fan of the, I'm going to call it the bumpy look with all of the aggregate. And
Split face.
What'd you call it?
Split faced.
Okay, that works too. But I am a fan of the more darker reds, if that's the only way we can go with the smooth side, and like the middle red on the Cortez, and that seems to be getting us. So that's the base of that. There was another image of it during the day where it was from the front entrance, where you could really see how smooth that base was. That's it.
So this is Dennis Ross and David Pacheco in front of the project, I think at the grand opening. So that is indeed limestone or cast stone. I don't know with this specific project, but that is a very large markup and was one of the first things that was value engineered out of the project. We always love to use it, but more and more recently, it's been rare that it can be afforded.
Is it possible to do a concrete that's just like that, or
that is called cast stone?
Okay.
So typically it's about equivalent in price. It's a very high-end finish material. It's absolutely lovely. We love to use it, but that is not in the cards for us. What we could do though is we could look into using the smooth face on the base, which would get us that a similar look, not as consistent color-wise, a little bit more. With the gray. But what you get into when you're using large amounts of smooth face block in a building is you're getting more and more of the cement look. It looks like block. When you're using split face, it has a little bit more play, a little bit more texture, and all the little pieces of aggregate and sparkle in the block are exposed.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Well, I guess I'm a victim again of my great taste. It's just too expensive, but
Yeah.
so we're really kind of locked into that block, is what you're saying, Adam. That's our choice that we have.
Yes, that is the material. We can fine tune the color. But I guess as Neil said, what the important part about tonight then will be is fine tuning the scheme.
All right, thank you.
So any more questions on Adam about the materials or the colors? It seems like this is just the first go through. If we pick out the scheme, once the contractor comes forth, we'll really be able to fine tune
So what
the color and the textures.
What we are picking out tonight is the specified scheme. If the committee so choose at a later date, we could change that, but that would come at an increase of cost, most likely. Making a change always costs money, whether the material costs more or not. So this is the basis of design color scheme that we're selecting, and we'll fine tune it as we move forward.
More discussion, or is there anybody ready to make a motion on a color scheme here.
All right.
Can we go back to the photo of the fire station? Our fire station?
Sure thing, Chief.
Is there?
Whoops.
Oops. Lost it. Had it and
There
lost
you
it.
go.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Team number one.
I mean, essentially, that's scheme number one right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so the window casing, well, not the, yeah, the windows themselves, the trim, whatever you want to call it, is black. Is that
We
right?
have not yet selected the color of that, and
was
the color of
wondering.
that does not have a cost implication as long as we pick from the manufacturer's standard colors, which let's just say could be 10 or 12 different options.
I'd be
So
ready
that's
to
not
get your
critical for us to
green.
select today.
Is that where you could introduce sort of a dark green?
That is something we absolutely could look at. I don't want to say yes immediately. I would need to have a
get-
sample in front of me, just like you would probably need to have a sample in front of
Yeah.
you.
I noticed the doors aren't red.
Don't worry about that coloring. The intent of that is to match the windows.
I know, I'm teasing.
Hey, Jean's got a question?
If, if you like the scheme of the fire station that you've got there, is that enough for what you're trying to do? I mean, if that would be my preference.
That is what I need. That you like scheme 1, scheme 2, a modified scheme 1, and are okay moving forward with that. Knowing that there's a lot of color selection left to be had. This is what is written down, that it is this block, and we will fine tune, or it's a color equivalent to this block.
Because I don't like these samples that we've got in front of us, but I like the way it looks in that picture.
Yeah.
So that photo right now, I believe, just has a white and a red. They are not based on any block manufacturer's colors.
Right, I understand that, I just didn't see.
Go ahead.
Question. So Adam, can I ask a quick question? The color scheme that you have here, or the layout, are you saying that we have to kind of fine tune that without the colors, but the actual layout of that? Because my personal preference or my personal thinking is I think you have too much gray there.
Yeah,
I think you've got gray on the bottom and gray on the top, and then you have a lot of gray over the apparatus floor. And do we have to agree on that tonight, or are there options to that? Because I think you're taking away a lot of the red on the side of the building.
I would need clear input from the committee on that tonight, with the I would need clear feedback on that to make the change. I don't believe that that is something that can be fully revised and shown to the committee by next week, which means that you would have to have faith in us to get it right before the package goes out to bid. If you'd like to change those colors, the feedback of we want more red and less gray, that is the feedback I would need, and I can run with that.
So could I ask then on the bays, what I'm looking at just appears to be exterior. It doesn't look like siding per se, but that is also stone. It just is not drawn to look like stone. The gray part, yeah.
This right here is indeed the same block.
Okay.
This right here is a different material, actually.
Oh, okay. That is non-brick,
That is something called ephes. It is kind of like a stucco finish that can be done in almost any color, and you can add some, but limited patterning. Very limited, but some.
You guys don't want,
you talked about maintenance. EFIS is a nightmare. Birds are going to peck in it, build nests.
So in the past, EFIS has absolutely been a nightmare. I completely agree with you. What we have been doing is using the extreme high-end finish of EFIS in specific locations like this, where the weight of masonry is extremely cost prohibitive. We also previously looked at metal panel, we looked at fiber cement, but all of those ended up being cost prohibitive as well.
What about a transom panel?
I don't believe we could do that there. That would definitely be an increase in cost over what we have and would be redesigned at this point.
I don't
Just for
mind
a
the gray.
translucent wall panel?
Yeah. What was that? I apologize.
I said just for a translucent wall panel? Just like a metal wall panel, it's just clear.
That is very much so redesigned at this point. And we are going out to bid in a week.
Go ahead, David.
Adam,
Yes.
can you just explain again, we pick a scheme. So if we agree and we like scheme 1, you have these part numbers, DK29, and I don't have that red part number.
Yeah.
And then you say the whoever wins the bid presents their color schemes to us. Are they basing it off of these part numbers, or are they giving us a couple selections to look at? I mean, how does that work?
So
Can you just explain that?
Absolutely. What happens is that these become the basis of design. And this is the block that we are telling contractors, this is what we want. But due to public bid law, they are allowed to submit an equivalent, which could be any other block manufacturer that is cost competitive, or honestly not. They could pick a more expensive manufacturer. Not that I expect that would happen. And they will have to, the way we write our spec is they have to match this color. This is the color we're looking for, and you have to match it. If you cannot match it, then we have to talk. Is essentially what happens.
And who approves their match? That, I mean, do we look at that, right? And we say, that's a match, right? They don't just say it's a match, right?
That is submittal review, and generally that is the architect that does
Okay.
that.
I got you. Okay.
If that is something you would like us to bring to the committee for a vote for this one specific item, we could. We cannot bring every submittal by you because there are hundreds or thousands.
Oh, no, I wasn't asking that. I was just making sure there's checks to make sure what they're presenting to you is a match. That's all.
Absolutely. And what we do when we get that is we sit down, and we actually have multiple people in our office. It's not just Katrina, it's not just me. We take our entire office, we sit down with these samples, all of the other relevant samples. So let's say we do pick green as a metal color. We sit down with all of them and make sure they work both in sunlight, in the dark, in our office. We take them outside, look at them in all different conditions, and make sure it all goes well together.
So,
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And the other question I had is, looking at the photo, it looks to me when you zoomed in, I mean, most of the red brick is going to be on, I would think, on the rough side. And then in particular areas, you do the smooth side for like where lighting fixtures are going and so on and so forth. Is that the scheme?
In general,
yeah, okay.
I believe, well, I need
Like
to
the major areas of the rough side, right?
Correct.
Okay. Because again, looking at this little piece, the smooth side looks pretty ugly, is all I'm saying. Well,
the red.
the red.
Yeah.
Something that is hard to understand looking at the little piece also is that you don't see those individual little bits when you're looking at the building as a whole.
Yeah.
If I go back to these previous photos, let's see, you can, whoop, I didn't mean to move that. You cannot see those individual
I get it.
pieces of aggravate or it's the overall color. Squint your eyes and look at it.
I got you.
And that's kind of what it will look like on the building.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Question there.
Back to our photo where Chief has said more red, not gray. I have a slightly different view on that, but I don't know where we would draw the line. Do you want it red all the way to the ground and only have the gray band at the top? Because I think what you're missing here, because of the mass of it, that's just a picture, but when you have the big building, it's gonna look like a lot of red.
So what I would recommend is, if that is the desire of the committee, to provide us with that directive, and we will internally review the design and look at what we can do to make that happen. For example, one of those ways could be this, what would be the gray band at the top. We could look at making that, rather than 3 courses of block high, so rather than 3 blocks high, we could do that 2 blocks, we
Going
could do
up
it 1
and not
block.
down, yeah. Yeah.
We would recommend keeping that base though.
Yeah,
It's a
I would
very
too.
traditional design feature. We wouldn't recommend changing that anywhere on the building. It makes it feel very grounded. And we would also look at what can we do on the bays up here to bring in more red. It could be bringing in a red accent. So like we have these gray accents here, we could do red accents up there. It could be changing the level of that. But I would ask that the committee give us the authorization to make those tweaks as we move forward, just because of how aggressive our time frame is.
Well, since how you offered and since how there's a fair amount of uneasiness about the schemes and colors and that, can you come back to us once the builder is selected and the materials are put together and review it with us as a committee?
We can absolutely do that, but we still need the decision tonight to move forward.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we would take the general,
yes,
give you the general direction tonight, but seeing as how you offered, we'll take, I think we'd like probably to take you up on your offer.
And what I would say is that it is a negotiation between the architect and the contractor. And so we would take your input and your feedback, but we couldn't say we're going to change colors. It has to be true and authentic negotiation with them, saying the block you provided is maybe slightly too purple in hue compared to red. Things like that. It's very specific, articulate changes. And I just want to make sure the committee is aware it's not, we can do a full 180 at this point.
Sure. Okay.
So if I could.
Go ahead, Chief.
So I spend a lot of time looking at fire stations. And the majority of firehouses that I look at that have a good base like you're talking about, but the majority that I've seen either have a slight transition in color, like by changing the bricks, or they have a very thin line accent line at the top of it. And so I think like if you went 1 course or dropped a course and had 2 courses and then red in the back or whatever, I think that would look more like a traditional firehouse. My firehouse that we came from was exactly that. It was solid red all the way from top to bottom with an accent down at the bottom. Nothing really up at the top.
To comment on one of those points you mentioned, Chief, you mentioned the band at the transition between. That's something we absolutely can do by playing with the textures and create that look. We could lower the accent band, but that
I don't think you need the band in the top.
very blank walls. Something that we have to be careful of with this material is a blank wall of block looks like a warehouse. So what we are showing you here now, we have developed very carefully to try to prevent that from happening and make this right.
Adam, can I ask a clarifying question? Is the mock-up required to be full height?
The mock-up wall is not required to be full height, but it is a full representation of the different colors. So we will have, let's say, 2 blocks that represent the base, 3 that represent the field, and then 1 that represents the accent on the top. We also like to actually incorporate a fully flashed window opening and a couple other things into that.
Okay, thank you.
Adam, can you bring up the other two firehouses again, please?
Sure thing.
See how the accent.
Yeah, but you've got that brown at the bottom.
Yep, and have gray at the bottom.
Oh, like, oh, we were
Something we could do is, like you see here, they're playing with bands of texture. We could absolutely do that. In this case, they're using different block sizes. I would stray away from that myself, but we can absolutely play with the texture of that and create this striping that you see in Thompsonville.
Well, my point by bringing that up is both of these firehouses have very little bands at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think the band at the top is the way it is now and the picture is too thick.
Yeah, it is too.
It's just too
For
thick.
the dimensions of the building, yeah.
Yeah,
We
I think,
absolutely can make that change.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. If you remove that, I can see the committee members.
I shall do so. 1 second.
Thanks. Okay, any more questions or comments for Adam? No?
So are you looking for a vote from us?
Yes.
Scheme one?
You're looking for a vote that
Yeah.
you approve scheme 1 or a modified scheme 1.
Yeah.
I would
make a
say that you
motion for
approve
that.
scheme.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we go with scheme 1.
all right.
Modified.
Well, what is that?
As plus modified?
Well, he was
Scheme
going,
one plus a mod, is that what you're saying, Adam? We could go scheme one
with-
plus a modified within
With
scheme one?
With the reduced banding height on the top courses.
Yeah.
Correct.
and
Thank
the
you.
change over
Yeah.
the bays.
Right,
Yes, correct. So a reduction in the accent color at the top of the bays and the reduction of the accent band at the top of the gable walls.
that what you were looking for, Chief?
It's the community project.
Right, yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none? Let me find my sheet, all the names on it.
It's right in front of you.
It is, yes. Never leaves me. David Singer, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Chief?
Yes.
Yes. Liz Gilman? Not present. No. Carol Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. David?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Gene Wall?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. And I would just like to add one more comment.
Sure.
You also saw shingle samples.
Correct.
So
Okay.
we do not need to vote on that presently.
Yeah.
The feedback you provided is the information we need, as the different shingle colors are all the same cost category that I've shown you tonight. And that also will vary greatly with availability and manufacturer. So we now have the desire based on the feedback you provided. And when we have all of the manufacturers, then we can get that final color.
Okay.
But I saw that you had gatehouse circled. Was that the preference of everyone, or why was that circled? Or
That was circled as that was the most preferred. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's what we're going with, but that was the one
That's-
that had the
that
most favorable and the
shade.
least
Yeah.
unfavorable.
Yeah.
Adam, what's the life expectancy of these shingles?
Oh, I believe 30-year shingles.
I thought it was
would go
25
for- It's a
years.
commercial 30-year shingle. I would have to confirm that though. If you'd like, I can. We've mentioned it prior. I know Katrina would have known that exactly, so I apologize.
More questions on the shingle? Okey-doke. All right. Okay, the subcommittee report for pre-qualification of general contractor. Steve, the chairman.
Yes, so we met yesterday and reviewed the evaluation of the general contractor that was in question. And based upon the criteria that we established for evaluating and for scoring contractors, both general and the filed subbid contractors, CTA construction managers failed to meet the minimum requirements. Also, of the 8 references that we contacted, while 5 were positive, 3 were negative, which was a pretty high number, taking into account all of the other references were called. And the 3 that were negative expressed an unwillingness to work with them on future projects. So we are proposing that CTA be dropped as one of the invited general bidders.
Okay, so that's the committee's recommendation to the full committee?
Yes, it was unanimous.
Okay, Neil, do you want to add anything to that at all?
I don't think there's anything to add, frankly. I'll be happy to field any questions.
Okay.
Let me make a,
Go ahead.
David moved.
Yeah, David.
I'll second.
motion to, I move what Steve said.
Okay. And the mayor seconded. Okay, is there any questions of Steve or Neil or the committee members on removing CTA as a bidder from our list of contractors? None? All right. David Singer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Butch is yes. Mayor?
Yes.
Chief?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
David M?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, they're so removed.
You forget, no, Derek's nothing. Excuse me.
You're not a voting member.
Okay, the bid process update, Neil, how we?
Okay, Butch. So we are making our final plans and final push to finish the documents. The intention right now is for documents to be out on the 29th of June. It's a Wednesday. Sub bids would be due 3 weeks later, 1:00 p.m. Thursday, July 21st. And general bids 2 weeks after that, Thursday, August 4th at 1 p.m.
Perfect. Okay. So all we're waiting for now actually is the ZBA time period to pass for the appeal. And then do you need us to meet again for that process to go out on the 29th?
I think what we would ask is a vote of the committee that barring any changes to the zoning board of appeals or any changes in the wishes of the committee, that we are authorized to proceed to bid at that time.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Okay, any further discussion on that? No. Okay. David Singer, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mayor?
Yep.
Chief?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
David M?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Getting a lot done here tonight. Holy cow. And railroad property update, Mayor, anything new with that?
Nope.
Nothing, all right. Easy.
Safely assume we are not purchasing that property at this moment.
Right.
Butch, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Regarding the railroad,
Yeah.
I think the mayor would agree, the non-communication status with the railroad is, I think, troubling at best. So what I have asked Adam to do is to put a note in the drawings that identifies the poles identifies the poles that need to be relocated, and identifies that the city is undertaking the coordination of the pole relocation, but the contractor should not anticipate that those poles will be removed prior to, what do we say, Adam, December 1st?
January 1st.
But January 1st of 2023. So they will have to put the foundations in around the poles and coordinate their work, and then we'll pull the poles out and they can do the work under slab afterwards. I don't want to be in a position that we're on the hook for a delay or an impact right out of the gate.
Right.
I would agree with that. I feel like it got caught up in the sale with CSX, and we were not, there was just no way that decision was going to get made prior to the sale, and I don't know that we want to deal with CSX. So
Right.
I think I had it,
Any,
whoever those people are.
right. Any questions?
Big freight company.
Yes, Neil.
So I was just going to say, I think we're going to have to sort of reestablish our efforts, make sure that we're talking with the right person. There seemed to be a genuine willingness to allow us to put the pole on that parcel without selling it to us.
Yeah.
And to move that process forward. Just the timeline of which I think is going to be an impact to the overall part of our project.
Okay.
And to add to what Neil said, as we now know, things move slowly, so that means we need to work on that now.
Right now.
The sooner we handle that, the better. Sure, we can go up until that last day, but the sooner it's done, the more smoothly everything will work.
So let me make sure that I understand what you're saying, Neil. Once upon a time, we talked about getting the company to license our use of that property versus purchase it.
Yes, that's correct.
Are we still going down that path? I mean,
Mayor, I would advise that we go down any path that will get us authorization to move the poles to their property.
okay,
The path of least resistance, if you will.
yeah,
If that is a temporary and or permanent license, so be it.
yeah,
If we can do it by purchase with the new owner, that's
Yeah.
okay too.
yeah.
But we just need to get the permission to Eversource to put the poles on that property. That is what we need. We need that document along with the sketch that was circulated to a week or a week and a half ago that showed the pole in that location.
Yes, David.
So it seems like the minimum thing is we need to move the pole, and we can't move the pole, it sounds like legally, because it's their property.
That's correct.
And we can't move it onto their property without their permission. So those
That is correct.
Okay. As far as you know, is all of this, is this regulated by the federal government, for example, what they do out there? And if so, can we not try to solicit help from our local congressman to get things moving? Because all we really want is the pole or poles to be taken out and put on other property that they already own. Or maybe they don't own. Do they need permission from the railroad as well to put the poles on their property?
They need permission from the landowner, who I believe now is CSX.
Okay, so but Eversource owns the poles, CSX owns.
That's correct.
Okay.
Property.
I'm wondering if there's any, I'm not saying that you necessarily should do it, but is there some way we could, is this all controlled by the feds so that we could get some political help? Just to get the moving.
I don't think so.
That's all we need is the poles moved.
CXX is private, right?
Yes, Carol.
Eversource is regulated by the feds, so they're the ones who have to make the request. Sounds like they're not doing that, or CSX is ignoring them.
Oh, well, I guess that's what I need to know is, was Eversource trying to contact them as well? I didn't think so.
my understanding was Eversource was aware that the city was in negotiations with the owner.
That's what I thought.
And they were waiting for a letter authorizing them to put the pole on the abutter's property.
Okay.
So I believe that Eversource is still in that holding pattern. And once they have the authorization to do it, they will begin the work order process and coordinate the relocation of the utilities that are located on those poles.
Yeah, I don't see how, I'm sorry, I'm talking over Carol. Why don't you recognize Carol first?
Sure, Carol.
No, I just wanted to bring up that I don't know if anyone's just asked Eversource if they would move them. They kind of, I mean, them and the railroads are kind of the same tier of they do what they want. But when we did our solar array up at the well field, there were poles on the tracks that needed to be moved. Eversource handled all of it. And so anyway, I was just going to say sometimes it's just asking the question, maybe they could just move them. And then that relieves the city from having to try to get permission.
Oh, that was going to be my next question as well. Yes.
Who in the city would do that? Is that Marlo? Is that you and Energy? Who would?
I'm going to say Neil. No, but I mean, I can help. I can look at the records. I did not do it. It was the owner who did it with Eversource, and then we provided if they needed information. But we have a great rep, and I can definitely get the help.
Carol, the problem as I see it is that neither the city nor Eversource own the parcel of land that we want the pole to wind up in. So legally, I believe, in order for Eversource or any public utility to put a pole on privately owned land, there has to be an easement agreement in place with the landowner that says that they have the permission to do so.
No, I understand that. Do you know if there's some type of provision though, where it's sort of like they need to provide, anyway, I don't want to get in the weeds, but I do know that they were able to do it with the railroad, and typically I've always heard it's impossible to get any easements from the railroad. So I'm just looking for another way that this might be able to happen without the onus being on us. I love when I give it to someone else and be like, you do it. And
we were significantly down that road with Mike Twidell from, and I can't honestly remember
Pan Am.
Which Pan Am, I guess it was.
Yeah, Pan Am.
The problem is we were trying to do this when Pan Am was selling all of their real estate properties to CSX.
Okay.
And since that closing occurred on or about the 1st of June, we have had zero contact, return contact from Mike Twidell. So my suspicion is they no longer own the property. Mike no longer feels an obligation to return the city's calls.
Right.
And we need to find the right person at CSX to re-engage this conversation with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jen?
I just wonder if anyone at GSEC can be helpful in that, because they're dealing with Eversource and the polls day in and day out. And there's a part of me that thinks that the way that Eversource approached it originally may not be the only way forward. Which is to say, there are exceptions to the way that Eversource behaves with regards to private property and things. So, I'm just saying we need some creative thinking on this. I'm thinking the folks that are municipal broadband have to wrangle with the poll stuff and Eversource. Yeah, and they do it successfully, day in and day out. So they may have ideas.
Here, Laura.
I believe GSET is having a bit of a struggle with some responses to polls. So I would have a feeling they would be needing, they are having some asks and ours might not be as big as theirs. So I'm not sure if that's
I think she's just talking about contact.
Right.
Yeah.
We do have actually Marlo has a contact because I've gone back and forth and there is someone, Janine gave me a name, that kind of thing. We can certainly.
Well, with Eversource or with CSX? Why would they know CSX at that point?
I think it might be with Eversource.
Yeah. Well, we have contacts with Eversource.
So does anybody have contacts with the Department of Transportation? Because
Yes.
I've done railroad bridges, and they might have a contact at CSX that you could reach out to.
They might by now, you're right. Yeah.
So, because when I did the 91 bridge, we had CSX flaggers on site that I had to coordinate with CSX. So that's something to look into. Mass DOT might be able to help you there, or, sometimes District 2, I don't know who's in charge of District 2, but they might be able to help.
You gave a name just a minute ago, Counselor. What was it?
So I used to work with John Donahue at Mass DOT. He was in charge of construction. So he might be able to point out somebody.
Yeah, I will go back and look at my notes on, because we were working with their boss. So before, so I can certainly maybe circle back to her.
Okay.
On this.
So
and then I would just be careful on the railroad tracks, because sometimes if you have a crane on site and there's a potential to foul the tracks, they're going to make you get a flagger out there.
Yeah, no, it's not really near the track that much. It's just an annoying little piece of property that's been owned by them for a really long time.
15-foot piece wide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds we're going to try to reconnect with everybody and get the ball rolling on this thing as quick as we can. Anybody else on that subject?
David, I don't think we answered David's question. I'm not sure if anybody in whether Congressman McGovern or any of those people could be helpful right now. I don't know that we know enough yet, but maybe.
Well, the railroads are definitely, they're monitored, even though they're private property here in they're monitored by the federal government. I just think that if we called McGovern's office and McGovern called them and said, just pay attention to this, please, that might be helpful. That's all. It
might. Yeah.
So, and I hate to say it, but Mayor, but I think it should come from you since it's one policy.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Right.
Thank you.
Department of Interior. Okay.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, any more on that? Nope. You do temporary fire station, chief, anything new there? Nothing new with that. New business, is there any new business? Next meeting date, maybe, that's new business? What are we meeting?
I just have one thing to bring up.
Sure.
So just to make everybody aware, because I know time is of the essence, I just purchased switchgear for a building and it's 65 weeks out, so.
65 weeks.
Yep.
I know.
They're actually rebuilding antiquated old switchgear because they can't
get the new stuff.
That's right.
Right.
So,
I know it's going to be.
So that's what we're buying a custom switchgear, which we could get in 45 weeks, but just something to keep in mind if you're trying to get out of the old fire station. Procurement of the switchgear itself is going to be critical path.
That much more. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
It's no fancy brick.
No fancy.
We're seeing that on multiple projects now, Derek.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
What's the next meeting date? I don't have a calendar in front of me here. Buddy, right behind you.
July 7th.
see.
July 7th. July 7th. Okay.
It is. That's the
I'm
library.
sorry,
meeting.
it would be if we do the second Thursday, it would be the 14th.
14th. By 14th. All right. It's better. 14th. Same place, same station.
Yep.
Okay. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. Yay, David.
Yes.
Butch, yes. Mayor,
Yes,
Chief,
feel badly for the
Carol.
5.5 hour meeting.
Yes.
yeah, David M. Yes. Steve,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
I don't know what happened.
Jean. Sorry, Jean.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Great night.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, everyone.